So I want to talk about Megumi Fushiguro and where I think his curse technique, the 10 Shadows technique, is ultimately headed in the series, or at least what I think some of its potential is. Currently, as of making this video, we're on chapter 206, so it's been a while since we've seen Megumi in action. I think that this is the perfect time to talk about Megumi, since we're most likely going to be headed into the next set of chapters where we'll see Megumi fight again at some point. Before we get into the video, I'd like to just state that I'm by no means an expert on JJK, so if I do make any mistakes during this theory, please feel free to correct me in the comments down below. This is also a spoiler warning for anime onlys, so if you're not caught up to the manga as of chapter 206, you have been warned. Now, Megumi's curse technique is the 10 Shadows technique. It's an inherited technique that's passed down in the Zenin clan that allows its user to summon up to 10 potential Shikigami using its shadows as an intermediary. It also grants the user overall manipulation of shadows, allowing you to hide in or travel in shadows or store objects within your own shadow. In chapter 1, Megumi states that the time limit of his incantation to summon the Shikigami ran out, yet as the story goes on, he has his Shikigami out for far longer stretches of time. The logical conclusion that I came to was that the time limit that Megumi has on his summonings probably directly corresponds to his amount of cursed energy reserves and his refinery and control over it. Megumi now has immense reserves of cursed energy as shown in the Reggie fight, and as the story goes on, he keeps one-upping himself in that regard. He can summon up to 3 Shikigami at the same time and uses multiple summonings in his fights. Now, I'm unsure if Megumi's own personal limit is summoning 3 Shikigami at a time, or that it's the technique's limit, but it doesn't really matter for this video. How the technique works is that you basically start off with the divine dogs, and then like a video game, you have to unlock all of the other Shikigami by taking part in a ritual without any help from others, where you fight the Shikigami until you defeat it, essentially taming it for you to use and control. Currently in the series, we've seen 6 of these Shikigami already tamed and 1 still untamed, which also happens to be the only Shikigami that not a single previous user of the 10 Shadows technique has managed to tame in the past. This leaves 3 Shikigami that are yet to be revealed what they are, but I'm sure that they'll come in due time. Lastly, if a Shikigami is destroyed while they were summoned, their power, abilities, and attributes get transferred over to one of the other Shikigami. But the one that was destroyed can never be summoned again in the lifetime of that specific 10 Shadows technique user. Now that I've laid out the basics of the technique, we can get into the different Shikigami. Since the Divine Dogs are the start of the technique, I thought it was appropriate to start off with them first. The Divine Dogs are twin canine Shikigami with powerful noses for tracking and lethal fangs and claws for devouring curses. The White Dog was destroyed by a Finger Bearer special grade curse spirit. Its abilities were then inherited by its black twin. When the surviving Black Dog inherited power from the White Dog, it sort of evolved through fusion into the being known as Divine Dog Totality. Divine Dog Totality is an improved version of the Black Divine Dog that's incorporating the power of its fallen twin. Divine Dog Totality is strong enough to contend and even beat special grade cursed spirits such as the Finger Bearer, making it Megumi's strongest offensive Shikigami currently tamed. In the beginning of the Goodwill event, Megumi was still using his regular Black Divine Dog to scout despite his White Dog having already fused with the Black Dog to become Divine Dog Totality. The conclusion we can draw from this is that he can swap between using the regular Black Dog or its more powerful form, Divine Dog Totality, though it's rarely ever better to use the regular Black Dog. I think in that specific circumstance, it was probably a cursed energy reserve play, since he was sending it off with Inumaki to hunt together as a team rather than to fight with it directly. It was better on his cursed energy to have that out on the field rather than a stronger Shikigami that would potentially drain his cursed energy reserves slightly more, especially since at this point in the story, Megumi didn't know that Hanami and company were there, so there was little reason to go all out. Nue is a bird-like owl Shikigami with wings charged with electricity that it uses to shock its opponents. It can also carry people short distances, but it can't really support that much weight. It's been used offensively, defensively, as a form of distraction, and also as a form of movement. The third Shikigami in Megumi's arsenal is the Toad, also known as Gamma. It's a large toad Shikigami with a large and powerful tongue that can grab people and pull them through the air. The toad's tongue can be used to pull Megumi or his allies to safety, and then carry an entire person in its mouth if it needs to. Megumi can also temporarily fuse Toad and Nue to create the Well's Unknown Abyss Shikigami. In a volume extra in Volume 6, Gege Akutami explains that Divine Dog Totality works different than Well's Unknown Abyss, the winged frogs. The winged frogs are something that Megumi came up on his own, while the Divine Dog Totality is a natural function. The result of this is that the Well's Unknown Abyss and any other potential imperfect fusions are weaker than either parts of their sum, while the fusions through inheriting power from a destroyed Shikigami is exponentially stronger than either parts that make up the sum. This doesn't mean that the imperfect fusions don't have their niche uses though, as the Well's Unknown Abyss can be destroyed an infinite amount of times without consequence to their individual parts. However, if Toad or Nue were to be destroyed, it would no longer be possible to use the Well's Unknown Abyss. The Great Serpent, otherwise known as Orochi, is a giant snake Shikigami that was used to ensnare Megumi's targets. It was capable of destroying low-level curses, but only bound Three Finger Sukuna momentarily before easily being destroyed. It's currently unknown which other Shikigami inherited its power. However, since we've basically seen all of Megumi's other tamed Shikigami after the Great Serpent was destroyed by Sukuna, we can assume that the Shikigami to inherit the Great Serpent's power is one of the 3 unknown yet to be tamed Shikigami. There's also the possibility that the power of the Great Serpent went to the Max Elephant, as when Megumi summoned the Max Elephant for the first time versus Noritoshi Kamo in chapter 44, he explicitly states that he's summoning the Max Elephant in its basic form, because summoning the Max Elephant consumes so much cursed energy, to which basic form implies that the Max Elephant also has a different form, possibly the fusion form with the Great Serpent perhaps? Speaking of, the Max Elephant is an elephant Shikigami that Megumi gained control of just before the Goodwill event. Max Elephant has the ability to produce a massive volume of water from its trunk, and its weight can be used offensively as well. However, I'm not quite sure if the water that the Max Elephant produces is real water, or that it's shadow water or cursed energy water with the properties of real water, as we did see it dilute Noritoshi Kamo's blood that he uses for his blood manipulation technique. Furthermore, the Max Elephant's water also was able to wet and wash away Reggie Star's receipts. At the start of the series, Megumi already had the first 4 Shikigami under his control. This makes the Max Elephant the 5th Shikigami tamed, which would also line up with the order in which the Shikigami are shown in the Volume 6 extra. Keep in mind that this isn't the order in which they appeared in the story, but the possible order in which they were tamed. The final Shikigami that Megumi currently can control is the Rabbit Escape. They're a swarm of rabbit Shikigami that Megumi uses as a distraction or to help him figure out his enemy's abilities. Like the Well's Unknown Abyss, the rabbits can be destroyed without any repercussions, allowing Megumi to spawn as many as he needs. Except that this is the unique ability of the Rabbit Escape instead of being a side effect of the imperfect fusions. The first time that Megumi used the Rabbit Escape was against Jiro Awasaka in Shibuya. This implies that Megumi did the ritual to gain them sometime between the Origin of Obedience arc and the start of the Shibuya incident. Last but not least, there's the most powerful Shikigami in the 10 Shadows lineup of them all, the 8-handled Sword Divergent Sila Divine General Mahoraga. Since that's such a mouthful, I'll just be saying Mahoraga for short. Mahoraga is the most powerful uncontrollable Shikigami that the 10 Shadows technique can produce. Not a single user of the technique has ever been able to tame Mahoraga, including Megumi. He only threatens to summon it as a trump card if he feels he's going to lose a battle anyway, releasing it to attack both him and his opponent that got stuck in the ritual. Mahoraga has the insane ability of being able to adapt to any and all phenomena after spinning the wheel on its head. If you can instantly one-shot Mahoraga, which in universe almost no one can do, or beat him in rapid succession so bad that he doesn't have time to turn the wheel to adapt to your attack, it's basically game over for you. As we've only seen Mahoraga once, there are still a ton of unknown variables, such as whether the adaptations Mahoraga makes are able to stay after the summoning ends. If it does, it would mean that it's likely that it would have already adapted to the previous limitless 6-eyes user that it killed, meaning that even Satoru Gojo, the strongest himself, would have trouble facing Mahoraga. Although I do think that the chance that his adaptations stick between summonings is unlikely, as it would make it impossible for Megumi to eventually tame it, as it would have already adapted to every Shikigami possibility from the previous 10 shadow users. There's also a theory out there that Mahoraga can only adapt to 9 different things at a time, each bulb on the wheel above its head representing one stored adaptation. However, again, this is just a theory and not confirmed at all. Aside from its ability to adapt, Mahoraga also has insane stats in strength, speed, and durability. After adapting to Sukuna's curse technique, it was either able to see or sense it, giving it the chance to dodge and parry attacks. Lastly, Mahoraga also wields the Sword of Extermination, which is enveloped in positive energy. It's so powerful that even Sukuna thinks that if it hit him back when he was a cursed spirit, he'd be a goner. Luckily for Sukuna though, him being inside of Yuji's body allows him to bypass his weakness of reverse curse energy. And it's not like Mahoraga is limited to reverse curse energy either, as it can use the rest of its body to attack with regular cursed energy. These were all 7 of the 10 Shikigami that have been revealed so far. Now I want to speculate a bit on what I think the remaining 3 could be. I realize that the Shikigami have a sort of power progression as you go from the Divine Dogs all the way up to Mahoraga. Even though you can choose to do the rituals in whichever order you like, as shown by the fact that Megumi, while only having 4 Shikigami, could already summon Mahoraga, it's still wise to tackle the order of the rituals in the order of power progression. Either way, I think it would be fitting if the remaining 3 Shikigami are more powerful than any of the tamed Shikigami, but weaker than Mahoraga. The Shikigami so far are all based on different animals, the Divine Dogs being dogs or a wolf, Nue being an owl, the Great Snake a snake, Toad a toad, Max Elephant an elephant, Rabbit Escape a bunch of rabbits, and Mahoraga a human. So what do I think the remaining Shikigami could be? I think that the 7 Shikigami could be based on a leech. Leeches are parasitic invertebrate animals that feed off of their hosts. That's why I thought it would be fitting if the leech Shikigami was a fast and slimy creature that was hard to kill and also had the ability to absorb cursed energy from its opponents. This energy would then transfer back to Megumi, allowing him to recharge his reserves if they ever ran out in battle. Following this, I think that the 8th Shikigami could be based on a jellyfish. Similar to Junpei, who could also summon a jellyfish Shikigami using his hair as a medium, Megumi would do the same, but instead with shadows. It would also have a sort of poison ability. It would make you incredibly sick. Although I will say that this is probably a really weak idea. Perhaps the 8th Shikigami could be based on the Gashadokuro. This isn't my idea at all, but rather a pretty prevalent idea in the community. The Gashadokuro are giant skeleton yokai that hunt at night and are made up of skeletons of the dead. Its eyeballs glow bright green or yellow, they have the power of invisibility, and their bodies are practically indestructible. People think that the Gashadokuro could potentially be one of Megumi's Shikigami because it looks like it's forming itself inside of Megumi's incomplete domain during the battle against Reggie. As well as this, Takayashihime, the summoner of the first Gashadokuro in Japanese mythology, is the daughter of Taira no Masakado, who is one of the vengeful spirits in JJK. Thus, you can assume that the big 3 sorcerer families correspond to the big 3 vengeful spirits. Sugawara no Michizane being confirmed to be an ancestor of the Gojo clan, Taira no Masakado would then belong to the zenin, as they have a similar family motto, and Emperor Stoko would then be an ancestor of the Kamo clan, as Emperor Stoko has a story about blood pouring from his coffin. However, I also think that the idea of the Gashadokuro being one of Megumi's Shikigami is also pretty weak, because it wouldn't really keep with the motif of all of Megumi's Shikigami being based on actual animals. Even if you stretch it to say that the Gashadokuro is based on humans, as it's made of human skulls, Mahoraga already represents humans. And for those of you typing in the comments right now, yes, humans are biologically considered mammals, and mammals are animals. Secondly, there is no known precedent that new summoning rituals are started inside of Megumi's domain. Instead, as shown with Mahoraga, The rituals usually start outside the domain with the enchanting of a certain phrase. Lastly, after looking at all the domains in the series more, I noticed that a lot of the domains seem to have a totem or a shrine type of object at the center or behind its user. Perhaps this is just Megumi's version of that. Moving on, I think that the 9th Shikigami could be based on a crocodile. It would have incredibly sturdy, almost armor-like skin and can breathe fire. I think that these 3 Shikigami could be incredibly powerful and hard to tame, yet not as absurdly overpowered as Mahoraga. Now with this lineup of 10 Shikigami, I think there's a ton of directions that this power could go. If Megumi indeed waits until the end to tame Mahoraga, there's something cool that can happen. If Nue, Great Snake, Max Elephant, and the Crocodile Shikigami end up being destroyed and fused into the Divine Dogs, Megumi could end up with a massive European-style Dragon Shikigami. It would have the jaws, fire-breathing and tough skin of the Croc, the claws, senses and speed of the Divine Dogs, tail and strength of the Great Snake, wings and electricity manipulation of Nue, and lastly the size, mass, and water-spitting ability of the Max Elephant. Such a massive 5 Shikigami fusion could be just the amount of power what it takes to take down Mahoraga. With the power of Megumi's domain, he could even end up having multiple of these dragons summoned to fight Mahoraga. Megumi could then essentially hide within the shadows of the dragon to hide himself from the crossfire. While such a being could be powerful enough to take down Mahoraga, there's also the possibility that it could adapt to all the power that Megumi throws at it. Perhaps the previous 10 Shadows users already tried such a thing and still failed. This is where both the versatility and the remaining Shikigami and the wits of Megumi come in. Now before we continue, I noticed that there's something weird about the rabbit escape. It was never specified exactly how Megumi beat the rabbit escape to attain it. The power of the rabbit escape is that it can indefinitely clone itself many times, as long as you have enough cursed energy to do so, which is why despite multiple characters having destroyed individual rabbits, Megumi is always able to summon the rabbit escape again. My theory here is that the condition to beating the rabbit escape is that you have to take out each and every single rabbit at once before it can get a chance to spawn more. If that truly is the case, then it might be a smart strategic play to sacrifice the rabbit escape so that another Shikigami could inherit its power. Rabbit escape is a great low curse energy play to distract your opponent to create an opening to escape. However, as the opponents are getting tougher to fight in this series, Megumi might start to realize that it serves a less important role in fights now than when he was weaker. If another Shikigami were to gain the ability of the rabbit escape, you could for example create a swarm of Divine Dog Totalities, or a swarm of Nues, etc, etc. Now it should be noted that while Megumi uses his domain expansion, he can already create more than one of the same Shikigami without the hand signs as a result of the domain enhancing the overall power of the curse technique. However, the problem with that is that it still requires the use of your domain. Now I'm sure that Megumi will eventually master his domain, but the fact remains that Megumi still can't use his domain multiple times a day, and he'd be vulnerable right after using his domain. There is a theory out there that Megumi won't go the route of mastering a barrier domain, but instead will take after Sukuna and master a barrier-less domain. If that is indeed the case, then his domain would be a better option for dealing with mobs, but the problem of only being able to use it a limited amount of times per day would still exist. That's why I think that sacrificing the rabbit escape is a great option, as you would be able to then summon dozens of Shikigami of whichever Shikigami inherits its power. Going back to Mahoraga, as unlikely as I think it is, it could also be that it would take the fusing of all 9 of his Shikigami and his domain expansion just to take down Mahoraga. It would be very fitting though, as Megumi's domain is called the Chimera Shadow Garden. The Shikigami inheriting each other's power, creating a super powerful Chimera just to take down Mahoraga. This is just me taking a leap here, but if half of the Divine Dogs fusing into the other Divine Dog was enough to put it on the level of a special grade Fingerbearer Cursed Spirit, then surely the other fusions could be even more powerful than that. And if 15 Finger Sukuna was able to take out Mahoraga using sheer power and versatility, then I think it's fair to assume that powerful and versatile Chimeras could do the same. Though I think that it would truly take the ultimate Chimera fusion of all 10 Shikigami and the mastery of his barrier-less domain to put Megumi in the same tier of power as Gojo and Sukuna, like it was foreshadowed. That is where I think Megumi is headed in the series. Before I end the video, I also want to cover the possibility of Megumi learning how to use reverse curse energy, and the possibility of him figuring out curse technique reversal. While I currently think that it's unlikely that Megumi will learn reverse curse technique, it definitely is a possibility as Mahoraga's sword uses it. It could be that gaining Mahoraga will give Megumi the insight that he needs to learn reverse curse. Or Megumi needs to truly have his back against the wall and then have an honored one moment. Taking it a step further, if Megumi ever learns how to use curse technique reversal, we could see Megumi himself becoming even more fearsome. Instead of being able to use his technique based on shadows, I think it would be based on light. Instead of manipulating and traveling through shadows, he could manipulate and travel through light, which would make him insanely fast, light speed even. Maybe even running the gauntlet again on 10 different Shikigami, but now based on light. Although again, I think it's highly unlikely as he'd then become way too overpowered for the rest of the cast. It's far more fun if Megumi just stays as an extremely powerful glass cannon type character that knows how to defend himself at close range. Thanks for watching this video on Megumi. It's my first time in a long time attempting to create content, but I'm pretty passionate about this series. So I thought I'd try my hand at it after being inspired by Clyde's Bleach videos. If you like this type of content, please be sure to comment, like, subscribe, so that I know if you would want more of this type of content. And if you didn't like this video, or you had some things you think were wrong, please let me know in the comments too. I'm always open to criticism, because I too want to get better. See ya!